Welcome back, Global War in 1939. We are halfway through round 3, and this is going to be the wrap-up video for this game. So we're going to declare an Axis victory here, as they own a good chunk of the victory cities. Even though the Axis, as of right now, they only own 9 victory cities. However, 2 of them is Cairo and Calcutta, which is key, vital for the UK Commonwealth to hold off the Axis. And without owning those production facilities, it's not so much the cities themselves, but it's the factories, and not having a way to really build in the center of the board for the UK makes it very difficult, meaning that Britain can only build really in Great Britain, Canada, which is pretty far away, and you can only get a select amount of units in there, and of course Australia, but that's kind of far away as well. And then, so if this game had to go on any further, the Japanese, so just give you a layout of the plan moving forward if this game would have continued. The Japanese would have taken the rest of the Mani Islands, so there's 4 islands left. They would have taken all that and Singapore on this next round, so turn 4, all that would have been Japanese. And Bangladesh, Burma, that would have been under Japanese control. We just would have to worry about the Chinese coming into Burma, coming into French Indochina. But with a stack of this amount of infantry, with all the transport, their mobility, China trying to take territories on the coastline, they can take them, yes, that's no issues, but the counterattacks, and they would lose too much material and just eventually grind them down. So I would suspect around turn 8, China would be under Japanese control as well. The other plan moving forward was to, on this next coming up turn, or turn 5 anyways, take the Philippines and Guam, solidifying the Mani Islands bonus. So just in bonuses alone, the Japanese would have been about $16, $17 in bonuses outside of territorial conquest. The other plan was to take this small Japanese fleet, come and attack the Anzac, and then park a good supplementary force, destroyers, subs, whatever, park in Sea Zone 99, which essentially prevents Anzac from building any more vessels, essentially eliminating from the game without having to attack Australia. Yes, they could build aircraft to go fight the ships, but if I keep mostly subs here, and especially build more subs, bring them down, even the aircraft wouldn't be able to attack them, which would force them to build destroyers. But who knows how all that would turn out, but that was the plan. And then for their income this coming up turn, they had $137 to spend. 60 odd of that was a one-time gain that you wouldn't get moving forward. But after turn 4, I suspect Japan would be up around the $85 mark, which is certainly enough to go toe-to-toe with the Americans, depending on if the Americans split their income or not. But the Japanese purchase on this 4th turn would have been 2 aircraft carriers loaded with a Yamato class and a regular battleship. And then turn 5, turn 6 would have been dedicated to supplement support vessels like destroyers and cruisers, subs. So at this state of the game, and America has not been doing very well with their economy rolls. So their fleet ain't up to par. Japan is essentially 2 turns ahead on their fleet. And of course, with an income of 131 for a one-time turn, would put them 3 turns ahead of the American fleet. So that would have been the Japanese plan. Taking the Mani Islands, Singapore, turn 4, turn 5, take these 2. And then slowly once this force was built up a little bit more, used the force here, and this certainly the FEC with the ability of not being able to add more units here would have slowly taken out India over the course of 3 turns, not really rushing it as they don't really need to. And then for the objective based winning of the game, the Indian Ocean is now completely free of Allied warships, so the Japanese are able to roam around unimpeded. There is 3 convoy boxes that they can easily take. Even with the transports here, they're 2 turns away from attacking South Africa, so that would have been off the map, completely solidifying Africa for the Italians. The plan in the Middle East moving forward, if we would have continued, go ahead and let the Italians activate Iraq, and then let this German force combined with the Italians would have taken over these 3 territories. And they do have an army base. This tank probably would have came up here. They would have abandoned India. But the combined, even though the force ain't very massive, neither is the UK force, and they would have been relegated to only defense and not attacking, leaving the Axis to really pick and choose their targets. So this would have been over a course of 2, maybe 3 turns. And then because German and Italian forces own, if Germany owns 1 territory or 2 or 3 or whatever, but if you split the territories up between German and Italian, then they both get the $5 bonus. So by taking these 4 territories, would have been a $15 swing for the Axis combined. But really what solidified this game, what really was the first nail, was the handling of the Mediterranean and Cairo. So it's very important when you're playing the Commonwealth, especially the first 3 turns, you don't really want to go on the offense a lot. Yes, if you see an opportunity, go for it, of course. But for the most part, your mindset should be defense. You're trying to hold off the Axis from advancing. You're trying to pin their armies so they can't move. So like this area here, you really want, as the UK, for this area to be stalemated, as in you can't move, but your enemy can't move either. And then you're just waiting out for the Americans. You're just waiting for turn 5. Usually the Americans are in it around turn 5. So that's all you're trying to do. And then the UK fleet parking in Sea Zone 47. That was definitely a mistake, because it allowed the Italians to come in and attack it turn 1, but then the Italian fleet had support of their aircraft, bombers, tacticals, whatever, which gave them the edge percentage-wise for winning that battle. Now, what you want to do as the UK, go ahead and activate Greece with 1 transport, even bring a guy down to Crete, because then you own that territory, giving aircraft a safe place to land. Now, some people might not agree with taking Greece, because they're like, what's the point? It's just going to get attacked and killed. Well, yes, but that's what you want. Because if you don't activate Greece, it allows the Italians to do other things that they may want to do, that would they would prioritize over Greece. But if you activate Greece, then Greece is now threatening Bulgaria. So the Italians on turn 1 have no choice but to attack it, and their units are kind of out of position a little bit. And then then they need their aircraft to win in Greece, which then, if their aircraft is here, then they can't go after the British fleet. It also activates 2 new ships, so it kind of tempts the Italians to go in Sea Zone 42, setting the UK up for a counterattack to go destroy the Italian fleet. So that's kind of what you want to do. And if you want a really good example of this, go watch the game that I played with Triple Crown. He set me up. I was playing the Axis, and he set me up pretty well for his counterattack, wiping out the Italian fleet, and then completely um, making Italy kind of irrelevant with their maneuvers and their ability to wage war. Italy needs their fleet in the Mediterranean to really get their biggest impact. So that would be a good example of how to handle the UK against the Italians. But losing Cairo turn one, losing that production facility, the UK unable to reproduce in Northern Africa, and they only can get new units down here, which then, of course, they need time to march their troops up. Um, so, and even if they counterattacked it and won it, because at the time I only had one light tank, he had two infantry here. He should have attacked it, recaptured it. Yes, I could have used my transports to counter that. Um, but let's assume that I never or would not have, and he had to retain Cairo. And then on turn three, he can rebuild the factory. Turn four, he can get new units. That gives Italy essentially three turns of getting four units on top. So then Cairo would have fallen again by turn five, right? Regardless um, about anything else that was happening. The Germans were essentially just doing the standard moves that I usually do with the Germans. Turn one is to solidify mainland Europe and capture Holland, Denmark, Poland, Yugoslavia, Oslo, France. All those countries need to fall on turn one, allowing turn two and three, because at that point, Germany's got nothing to do. Just build up forces to go after the Soviets. And if you set that up, you spend turn two and three just building forces in your allied territories and in your home territory. By the time turn four rolls around, you can easily walk Western Ukraine, Olarkursk, Moscow, and there's very little the Russians can do to actually stop it. If you do it correctly, you should be going in with roughly 20 infantry. Sometimes you get up to 25, but roughly 20 infantry. It all depends on your purchase options as well. You should be walking in there between 15, 20 tanks of mixed, medium, and Mark IVs, round 9 artillery, and a handful of mechanized grenadiers, regular mechs, to help your artillery keep up with your tanks. So if you set that up correctly, you don't even need your Air Force, which allows your Air Force to hang out around this area of the map. If you keep it in Western Germany or in Paris or in one of the French territories, it pretty much eliminates this entire sea zone from Allied vessels. Because as soon as they place a ship in any of these sea zones, you're immediately going to attack it, because you need your Air Force to protect Oslo. Oslo is not really being protected by a big land force. You just need one unit there, and you're using your Air Force to protect Oslo. Also, another smart idea is to set your bombers up in either Paris or Bordeaux or wherever. As long as it's in range of Sea Zone 21 and can get back to either Bordeaux or Normandy. Because as soon as the Canadians and British drop two transports here, or three transports or whatever, you're immediately going to attack it with your bombers. So, which forces the Canadians to build destroyers or another sea vessel outside of transports. So the second you see a transport here, attack it with your two bombers. And maybe if you can afford it, I would turn two and three. I would recommend only getting army-based units, but maybe turn four, start thinking about buying a third bomber to really put a lot of pressure on Sea Zone 21. And then depending on how these sea battles go, you may or may not have any subs, but if you do have subs, keep them in this area. And it pretty much closes off the British from building in these sea zones here. So it makes it a lot more difficult for the UK get new vessels on the map. So as soon as they drop a destroyer or battleship, whatever, you're immediately going to attack it with your subs, getting your sneak attack ability. And really the only way for the UK to defend is to put like three destroyers here at once, and then use your scrambles to go kill as many subs as you can, because the subs can't hit on the aircraft, so they're safe. You're relying on your scrambles. That's if you lose the opening battles of Sea Zone 23 and 14. Usually 14's left with a counterattack, right? But the British really, and it also depends on how well the French vessels go. Sometimes if you pick up a big fleet, you can probably attack both sea zones, because Germany will have a sub fleet here and their main fleet here. So some of that's conditional, some of it's luck, but also knowing what to do, when to do it, plays a big factor as well. As for the Russians, I'm not entirely 100% sure what they were planning. They moved a big chunk of their force up north, which is kind of smart because you want to engage the Finns. So if Russia can attack Finland, wipe out the stack of infantry, then at least Leningrad is safe for a couple turns. That'll be under your control till roughly turn 6, turn 7, because you're expecting the big force from Germany to come into to attack from Romania, so they're coming up this way. So if you remove Finland, Leningrad's safe, because the German attack, the objective is the main armies coming from Romania, and a supplement force is coming from Finland to go after, and their only job is to get rid of these two factories, forcing Russia to only build down here, which is probably Russia's only going to be building here come turn 4 or 5 anyways, which takes a lot of pressure off Finland to get rid of this Victory City, which is worth $2. And this factory here, getting rid of that is important. But I think the mistake here with the Russians, they're splitting their force up in 3 different zones or territories. You should really keep one force together instead of trying to split it up like this. I get what he was trying to do here. I think once Germany declared war, which would have happened on turn 4, then these tanks and these infantry would have went in Narvik and then Oslo. I think that was his plan, removing the bonus that Germany gets, because Oslo is linked to 2 $5 bonuses. So if he was able to pull that off, that would have removed $12 a turn off Germany, and then forced Germany to recapture Oslo, which would have been a distraction from this battle here, right? And China was playing defensive war. I think they were just trying to build up, hoping that the Japanese would take out these 3 territories and setting themselves up for counterattacks. Communist China, what they really should have done is take out this territory and this territory when they could on turn 1, as they would have just been walk-ons, giving Communist China a little more money to purchase a few more units, right? But that's fine. So that's kind of the wrap up and the overall view of this game here. We are going to call it, like I said, and we're going to declare an Axis win. But look forward to more games with War Dog. I think next time we're going to switch sides, and I'll play the Allies and he'll play the Axis, or he may choose to go have another go with the Allies, because the Allies are a strong contender in this game. It's just know when to defend and when to attack. Essentially the first 5 turns, especially with the Commonwealth, just defend, hold as much as you can, prevent the Axis from spreading out too early, too fast, giving themselves a huge economic boost. You want, as the UK, you want to keep the Italians around, $30. If they're getting up to 40 right now, I believe the Italians right now are at $42. That's when things are going off the rails. There's not much you can do about the Germans. They'll expect the Germans, turn two, turn three to be collecting anywhere between 75, $80. Um, and another thing, you want to keep Japan poor as well. You want to keep them around the $60 mark as best that you can. If you seeing that Japan's getting up to $85, $90, you should rethink your strategy. If Japan doesn't do J1 with Australia and FEC, you want to start collecting all these islands. Because if you don't, no one's collecting this money, and it's kind of a waste. But Australia should take Dutch New Guinea, Dutch East Indies, Java, and then FEC should take Sumatra, Borneo, and then slabs could be anyone who's ever available to take it. But you really want the Commonwealth to take these territories as fast as they can, because they'll be collecting money. And then if you have these, then you run into a new problem with FEC and ANZAC, is that they have too much money for their production facilities, and you'll find yourself saving $6 to $10 a turn every turn, just because you don't have the production. Your production cap prevents you from building a lot of units, right? Okay, well, that is it for this recap. Again, thank you for watching. Have yourself a great day.